guys are, you know, super champs for staying up late and coming to see some art and science. Anybody need to stretch break? Yeah. You guys stretch your arms out like this. Yeah, it's good health, good for the mind, body, spirit. We just learned a lot about that. You know, diet, exercise, mindfulness, it's all come back and center. I do a lot of mindfulness practice myself, so, you know, I'm a big supporter of that. So what I want to talk to you guys about today is a form of art that I have been working on for many years, and I call it alter eco art. Essentially what it does, it combines art, technology, and the environment.
Although I didn't graduate.
Right. And, okay. So,
well, thank you for coming.
Walking off with the microphone.
I was like, there's a ghost. He's got the mic on.
Hello, everyone. Hello, love you.
Could be embarrassing.
All right. Cool. All right. Do I need a mic back there? Can you guys hear me in the far back? Okay, cool. I don't need a mic. Excellent. So, okay. So my approach to how I work is I actually I call myself an alter eco artist, but essentially what I am is I'm a service provider. And I combine three essential things. Sustainability, which I have a really big problem with that word personally, but it's kind of the broadest word. A lot of what I look at is more like green technology or energy efficiency. Community, so how do populations, how does the mass public interact with art, and then new media, the technology itself. So these three things are what I combine in my personal practice. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to illustrate some of my work and then other artists who are working in this realm and try to encourage a lot more of you to collaborate with artists, or if you're on the science side, if you're on the art side, to collaborate with the scientists. And if you are either of these practicing professions, to start pursuing this form of alter eco art. So this is my grandma. She's 85 years old. She knows how to Skype. She uses emails. She has a Kindle. She's pretty tech savvy. But my grandma is when I think about how I create work, is really who I think of as one of my primary audience members, because she is very smart. She's very witty. She's been around a long time. However, you know, she doesn't understand some major complex systems, major complex issues. So I want you guys to raise your hand if you guys could sum up climate change data in one sentence, just one sentence. Nobody. Okay. Who can sum up like the whole global economic system in one sentence? Real quick. One quick sentence. Really hard. Okay. What about energy information systems? Yeah. So these are super complex issues that have been developed by many people over many years, and some of these issues are actually really meant to actually be hidden from us. And so what I see the artist's role is to actually translate these systems, make them available to people like my grandmother to understand, to you to understand, so somebody on the street can start to understand how does the economy really work, how does climate change really work. However, we haven't really seen that done successfully as a visual representation, as through art, and that's actually what I'm trying to achieve, and that's what I'm hoping alter eco art is able to do as well. So a few years back, I created this project called BIRD, Building User Response Gadgets. And what I did is I took a commercial building. It happened to be the San Jose State University engineering building, and I connected its energy system. So it's cold water, steam, and electricity, right? So all of its energy information systems with outside temperature. And then I wanted to find something that people could actually relate to, so that would trigger them to take action, to change their behavior, to understand this building, this envelope, this thing that they see all the time. So then I connected it to human systems, right? So I also looked at the San Jose State University building, which was like the building envelope, which inside of it has the HVAC system, which is sort of like its heart, okay, and lungs that is inside of it. And then it's all connected digitally through a smart meter. You guys have smart meters on your homes and your in apartment buildings, but all buildings now in California have these smart meters, which basically read how much energy your building is reading. And these are hidden. I hate the fact that they're hidden. This bothers me, right? Because this is like, you get a bill from PG&E, but you still really don't have a relationship with the building that you use every day, the thing that you reside in or what you work in. So I wanted to make it so that you could connect to that. So I connected it to the Hewitt. Sorry, I'm going to go back one. Previous. All right, I want to play this. Let's see. Let's play. Okay, I wanted to connect it to a human system. So I looked at what are the two human systems that we really connect with? Your cardiovascular, your respiratory system. So as the building was using more energy, I put a data visualization inside the building. When you first came in, you saw this on a monitor. It was a moving lung, right, that changed color and shape according to how much energy the building was using. And then the heart was changed shape and color according to how much the outside temperature was using. And the idea was that you can understand what it's like to run, right, and to come out and to lose your breath and to sweat. And maybe if you could understand that, then you can understand your building is going through the same thing. And maybe you can have a different relationship with the way that you treat your building. You're like thinking about how do you actually change energy and how do you reduce it? Well, what if you actually sympathize with it or empathize with it? And that was the goal of creating this bird project. Sorry, I keep going backwards for some reason. I also created a micro version of this where I actually took, instead of looking at the big building envelope, I looked at your own personal space. So your office space, which would include a computer, a phone charger, a light. What about the energy that's happening there and how could you relate and connect to it that way? So what I did is I took that energy information, I sent it to this is called a kilowatt reader. How many of you guys have seen a kilowatt reader before? A couple of you? And I hacked the kilowatt reader to send out tweets about how much energy your office unit is or your home system is. And then that same amount of data went back up into the sculpture of a heart and lungs. And that changed according to how much energy that your own personal system was reacting. And that is something that you can control. And so you could visually see what was happening. And the idea is that once you can understand that, you would actually modify and change your behavior. So here's an example of the system that I put together for what I call the Berg Micro, which is the smaller energy reading system. So I want to illustrate a couple of other examples of some projects that also use technology, environment, climate data. This one is called Organograph. It's by a team, Chico McMurtry, Bill Washabaugh, and Geo Holmesy. They're called the Anthropomorphic Robotic Works. And this was an ideas competition to create a public sculpture, an iconic sculpture that would measure climate change, measure climate data, influence public behavior, last for 100 years, and then be built to the sum of $20 million. Okay, so this was a complex system, but they came up with this prototype of a sculpture that actually moved. Sorry. I'm going to see if I think this one has also a video. Let's see if I can. Yeah, okay, cool. It is. Get to move. This sculpture right here is not showing up on here, but if you go to organograph.sj.org, you'll be able to see. Oh, here we go. It would actually move down this path, plant flowers and plants accordingly every single year, open up during the day. It would measure climate data through basically a science, I don't know, like NASA or something like that. And then it would also, you could walk inside of it, see how the climate data was changing and reacting. And it had these mechanical wheels, so it was sort of set up mostly mechanical with a little bit of the elements of it being connected to some sort of data system. And this sculpture is still roaming around. We still need to raise the money for it. $20 million is not really easy to raise for a public artwork unless you're in the Bay Lights. But this is an example of how artists are starting to think about climate change data visually and how it can impact people. How could people actually do this? And this is a 1/8 size sculpture, so this is about 8 feet tall, and they want this to be about 80 feet high. But they actually got the technology together to have it actually work and measure and move along the way. Okay. So moving on from energy data, we're also looking at human and ecology data and what happens when people who are living off the grid, how do they approach their environment? What do they do to their environment? How do they interact with it? And for a couple of years, I worked with a collaborator, Robin Lasser, on this project called Refuge and Refuse, Homesteading Art and Culture. And we did a project at the Albany Bowl, which is off the coast of Berkeley. And there was a decommissioned landfill where a homeless encampment resided for about 30 years until they were evicted. And one of the ways that we use technology in this environment and trying to this keeps doing things when I'm not ready for it. One of the ways that we use technology in this environment in order to communicate a story and a message about change was we did 3D architectural scans of the buildings and structures that this homeless community had put together. So for example, what you're seeing here is a fly-through model of a point cloud. It's a 3D model of what was Manmark's castles made out of found concrete, and we used 3 scanners to take in all the information about its surroundings, the ecology around it, and then this rogue building that was built here. And we did this because this is the only way we're going to preserve this in history, right? Because in 100 years this building is going to be gone, and maybe within this year this building is going to be eliminated. Other buildings on this site have as well. And so this way we're looking at exploring the connection between the environment and the homeless community, or what they call themselves is they call themselves the residents, I guess. They didn't feel that they didn't have a home because they had built their own. But this is a way that we use technology to adapt for this particular project. This is inside of the actual building itself. So you can see this graffiti that was done by artists that had come onto the site for decades and added to this piece. So another project that uses alter ego art as a model is the Land Art Generator project. And they actually won several awards and are now at COP21 and are asking for this to be an officially funded global initiative. But the Land Art Generator is an idea that if you're going to build a public sculpture, if you're going to build public art, why not have it generate energy? Why not have it generate electricity, or why not have it clean water? Why not have it do something better for the planet? So we have all this funding around the world for public artworks that sit there and do nothing. But what happened if we were actually if those were placed in communities that powered entire villages or transformed landscapes while at the same time adapting technology? And I really love this project, and they've had about maybe, since it started in 2012, I think they've had about like 200 different entries, and so you can actually get the Land Art Generator book and actually see these different projects where you can have architects and design firms around the world that are designing things that would clean air, that filter things like carbon dioxide from the air or smog, while at the same time they're positive neutral for energy. And then lastly, one thing I'll end on is this project I've been doing for a long time. It's called Art Inspector, Saving the Earth by Changing Art. And this project I put together many years ago, and I'm still doing it today, where I have a 3-part model for actually changing the way the art world works to reduce its carbon footprint. And how I would do that is through legislative reform or policy reform, getting institutions and cities and creating a different type of best practices for art making to reduce its carbon imprint. A healthy art program, which is something that I have a partnership right now with the city of San Francisco. This is something that is ongoing. I teach how artists can reduce their toxicity and waste within the studio practice. So this is an education program. And then green certifications. So I go into artist studios, I do energy audits on artist studios, I take them through a materials intake, and I show them new green materials and new materials that they can use that have a lesser impact on the environment, either zero or minuscule. And the idea is that by adding these 3 things together, if we, as artists, we reduce our carbon footprint, we will be influencing the way culture is also thinking, because artists, in theory, are the provocators of culture, and if we change, what would happen to other parts of society and other parts of culture? And I'll show you a short clip on that to kind of give you an idea of how artists are also changing their imprint. Hold on a second. Okay, I think it's going to actually go into the next screen to do it. Oh yeah, I forgot, I have one more slide on this. This slide particular is like where I did a comparison of products that are toxic, volatile organic compounds, bad for the environment, bad on the up cycle, bad on the down cycle, and then products that were better for the environment. So they were either had a 0 to minimal carbon footprint, or they had a very low down cycle effect. And the problem is with green materials is that once you, they're not very sustainable in terms of economics. You can't really keep them on the market because the supply and demand is not very fruitful for them. I'll show you, the last thing I'll show you is a quick video on that because I know that I'm out of time. Let's see if that sound works on this. Maybe not. If it doesn't, it's okay. I'll just talk over it. Okay, so this is just an example of one of the grants I got through Silicon Valley Energy Watch to do these energy audits on artist studios, where I actually took 5 artists and I actually had them transform their entire art practice and lifestyle, coming in first with an initial inspection, giving them a program to work on for a couple of months, and then having them create an artwork based on the new materials that they were started to use and the adaptations they had to their artist studios. And during that time, they also blogged and reviewed what they were working with. And so, you know, my mission for this project is to get artists to really change the way that they're practicing, because there's no regulation for the studio practice like there is for other industries. So on that effect, I know I've kind of talked over time, and I'm quickly, Siembieda-Gribben is another alter ego artist I would suggest looking at. But I would love to talk to you guys further about this. You're welcome to get in touch with me. I'm starting to get together a group of people who want to actually dive deeper into this area. So if you have any questions or want to talk about how that can work in your own practice, whether you're a scientist or artist, I'm open to hearing that. So any questions?